Good morning, everyone. We'll go ahead and call the meeting to order. Before we get started with the first item, which is to approve the minutes from our last executive board meeting, let's go ahead and go around the room because we do have some new faces and introduce ourselves. And we'll start with you, Sean, who's usually the voice from the ceiling.
Yeah. Morning, everyone. Happy to be here. Sean Santaya, Program Development Team Leader for the Federal Highway Administration Tennessee Division out of Nashville.
Good morning, Matt Meservey, Long Range Planning Director with TDOT, representing Governor Lee today.
Troy Ebert, Region 1 OCT and board member.
Larry Gann, City of Clinton.
Andrew Roberto, Vice Mayor, Knoxville.
Mark Watson, outgoing member of TPOe, and I will City Manager of Oak Ridge.
Sean Gleason, inbound member of TPOe and Oak Ridge City Council.
James Temple, Sevier County.
Terry Frank, Anderson County Mayor.
Jeff Welch, TPO Director.
Glenn Jacobs, Knox County Mayor.
Becky Massey, State Senator and Chair of the Senate Transportation Committee.
Justin Biggs, ETDD.
Courtney Durrett, Chair of Commission, Knox County.
Jeff Harris, Loudon City Mayor.
Isaac Thorne, Knoxville Transit.
Mike Conger, TPO staff.
Megan Brooks, City of Alcoa, sitting in for Mayor Tanya Martin.
Brian Boone, City of Maryville, for Mayor Andy White.
Great, thank you all. And as Dr. Watson said, May 5th is your last official day as City Manager. So we wish you well, Mark.
Thank you much.
Yes.
Been a joy.
And hopefully you've properly prepped Sean.
A lot of briefing time.
All right, the first item on the agenda, I'll entertain a motion to approve the February 22nd minutes.
Second.
Any changes or corrections? Hearing none, all in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Next, Doug Burton with public hearing on Federal Transit Administration. Good morning, Doug.
Just trying to fix a quick audio echo.
Okay, do our best here. This is the annual we're getting it back through. I can hear feedback through the computer. So this is the annual program of projects. We do this every year. Sorry, can we just turn?
Yeah. We've got the audio turned off.
Test. No, I still can hear it.
Turn. Yeah, it's on. There's nothing here on their end. We're just getting feedback here. Right.
Just do the best you can, Doug.
Okay. All right. So this is an annual program of projects. We get this every year when the FTA releases their funds. And we have to do an actual public hearing. So we advertise this in the regional papers and we post it on the TPO website. And the executive board must consider public comment. To date, we've not had any, and no one has signed up on this. So just to let you know that. And we need to be sure the public hearing is noted in the minutes. That's a requirement so the local agencies can apply for grant funding. So there's 3 different sources of funding that come to our area every year. One's FTA Section 5307. We get $8.5 million. It can be used for capital and operating. The city of Knoxville is the actual designated recipient of the funds. If you remember back in 2012, the city began sharing the funds with CAC and ETHRA. The agencies themselves came to agreement on how to divide the money, and it's based on a percentage. So of that 8.5 million, CAT will get 6.7 million, Knox County CAC gets 1.2 million, and ETHRA gets 450,000. In your packet, there was a pretty extensive table about how all these funds will be used. So I just kind of give you the highlights. For the 5307 funds, CAT's going to use this for maintenance, ADA paratransit, safety and security, and AVL upgrades. And then CAC is using it for operating, job access, maintenance, safety and security, and ETHRA the same things, operating, job access, maintenance, and safety and security. The second pot of funding is called bus and bus facilities. We get about $705,000. Now, this can be used to purchase vehicles and equipment. The city, once again, is the designated recipient, and this funding can only go to fixed route service providers. So the only one in our area that provides fixed route is CAT. So all of this funding goes to the city of Knoxville and CAT. They're going to use it for bus replacement of their cutaway vans, buying fare boxes, midlife overhauls, purchase bus stop amenities, acquire shop equipment, and purchase support vehicles. The third pot of money that comes to our area is called Section 5310, Enhanced Mobility for Seniors and Individuals with Disabilities. We get about $850,000, and this money goes to provide funding to transportation for seniors and individuals with disabilities. This is the funding we often award to like Sertoma or Emory Valley to buy vans, or we also award money to like the Blount County Smiles or the CAC Volunteer Program. The TPO is the designated recipient, and so we don't have any specific projects listed right this second. We do a separate call for projects, which is we're undergoing right now, and then we'll bring those to you separately to approve. So that's my overview of the POP. I will ask just to be sure no one else is here to speak. If not, we'll officially close the public hearing, and then I'll take any questions from the board. If there is none, then we need a recommendation to approve the program of projects.
Any questions for Doug?
The technical committee did act and recommend approval of these program of projects.
Questions? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to approve.
Second.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you, Doug. Next, we have Craig. We'll be entertaining a motion to approve a resolution adopting amendments to the TIP.
I will concur with Doug. That is a bit disorienting as you get your voice blowing back at you. So this amendments here today are, let me clarify that these are amendments that will be held before we would submit these. This is for the fiscal year 23-26 TIP, which was approved by this body last fall. The negotiation for the statewide STIP that includes the TIPs across the state is being resolved between TDOT and Federal Highway right now. So we're awaiting that final approval. We do want to go ahead and get board action upon which we would then submit this once the new TIPs are approved statewide at some point in the relatively near future, we hope. So both of these amendments, we have one for a local project and one for a TDOT project. Both are really clarifying some existing non-exempt projects, adding some funding to one, and just clarifying that the descriptive elements are correct for both. The first TDOT is the Pellissippi Parkway Extension. We are revising the project to add some additional right-of-way funds in HPP, about $20.7 million being added to the right-of-way phase, clarifying that the project length is 4.9 miles and clarifying that the termini is near State Road 33. Previously, description said from State Road 33, so a fairly discrete change there. Those are the revisions to the project, and then clarifying the total project cost with that additional increase for right-of-way now stands at $184.2 million. I'll go ahead and proceed to the next project, and then we can have questions or comments on either once we discuss that. Second is Foothills Mall Drive Extension Phase 2. This is another clarification, clarifying the project description, and then the termini on that project length is increased to 0.76 miles, and the termini is revised from Folk Street to McCammon Avenue to Folk Street to near Bessemer Street is the new corrected termini. Project description, construct new two-lane road with turn lanes where needed from Folk Street to McCammon Avenue at Celtic Road, and reconstruct McCammon Avenue, do an improved two-lane roadway with curb and gutter and tie in with previous improvements near the Bessemer Street intersection. And the project does include a multi-use path along one side throughout, as well as a sidewalk, I believe, on the other side. Brian, is that correct? No funding changes are included with this change, so it is just clarifying the description as well as the map to clarify what's actually happening with the project. And you see what's programmed. We have some LSTBG funding programmed, design right away and construction, again, in those years as shown. Total project cost a little over $6 million. These did go through as non-exempt projects through the air quality conformity report. Public comment ended on that yesterday. We did receive no public comment for those. If there are further specific questions about conformity, I would defer those to Mike. And this was presented to the technical committee, and they recommended approval of both project amendments as well as reaffirmation of the metropolitan transportation planning process. If there are any questions, we can address those.
Any questions for Craig? I guess you did a great job, Craig. No questions.
Excellent.
All right, we will entertain a motion to approve. Do we have a second? Any further questions or discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you so much, Craig.
Thank you. And
Next, Dr. Watson.
Greg?
yes, come on down. And I want to get to your.
While he's drawing up our short slide presentation, oftentimes we talk about various projects. We see a small scale map, but we don't know really what's out there. I have my fire department. We're planning some work for a brand new water plant that will be tearing up quite a few roads, and that's going to back up onto state highway systems. So as we look at that, we wanted to give you a look at Edgemore Road, which is a continuation all the way over to Interstate 75. If you look at the various phases of that project as presented by TDOT. Good? Mm-hmm. All right, thank you. So as we look at, I'm going to just show you the afternoon. The morning pictures are just the same, only the cars are on the other lane. But as we look at the accumulation that occurs across the river from Solway, we begin to see southbound traffic really starts to muddle through from different locations. Edgemore is at the lower part of the screen. The top of the screen is coming out of the Oak Ridge National Lab and also out of the community. There's a lot of cross traffic, 50,000 cars a day that are going back and forth across Oak Ridge, and we're continuing to see growth and traffic volume increases. But we're concentrating on Edgemore today because it's a two-lane road with various turning lanes along the portions that are in the city limits of Oak Ridge.
So we've just got to reshare the screen real quick. Sorry about that.
Mr. Watson, while we wait,
Yeah.
So just real quick, Edgemore's between 75 and 95, right there where Bull Run.
At Bull Run, between Bull Run Steam Plant and as you cross to go into the Oak Ridge area.
I was just trying to wrap my mind around.
Okay. So as she's getting that fixed, I said a couple of things that I wrote down on here. as we look at, we took action in December to kind of postpone any further action on it. However, we know that in Oak Ridge, there are about 3,000 jobs on the 3 to 5 year horizon that's coming in here. So there's going to be more traffic. This is a job work zone for the region, and getting people in, getting people out, and even evacuation procedures associated have to be prepared for the project. And so I think as we look at the traffic that we have in the Centennial Bluff-ish area between the Bull Run Steam Plant and going on into Oak Ridge is the area that we've had more concern. We've got a small bridge that comes across at Pellissippi Parkway and across the lake there, and then everything kind of turns into spaghetti as we look at that. So on the left side, you'll see City Golf Course. Of course, that's not adding a lot of traffic to that, but considering there's another mile and a half of length to the Clinch River Bridge, you're stacked up at the end of the day on that. Very slow moving traffic. This one has live moving, so you can see that we're moving about 15 to 20 miles an hour on this. Went back to our records, and in 2011 there was a study by TDOT, the planning study, and that planning study stated that we were at a category level E for this arterial. You can only go up to category F. I would say that at 5 o'clock in the afternoon you're at a category F, and slow moving, if not almost completely congested. As we look at further facilities, you'll see to the right at the top of the screen is a brand new substation. This is in preparation for the demolition of the TVA steam plant at that location. They had to build a new transmission period, and we've just completed that particular construction. As you get, again, you see a very narrow entryway into that area with two lanes of roads and traffic. Of course, we're trying to splice between a number of TVA towers, and as you look at heavy congestion southbound on Illinois, and you don't see any congestion on the Edgemore ramp in the afternoons, but in the morning that is completely solid traffic all the way across to Clinton Highway. Another shot there as we look at Parkmead and the intersection as we come up to the intersection to the left. You have subdivisions and residentials that come off at that point in time, but it is a complete solid lane. You can see the truck at the bottom. That's solid all the way out to the bridge. So what we're trying to do is provide service for 15,000 workers a day coming and going. Many of those workers are coming from North and West Knox County, coming from Oak Ridge, Roane County, and Anderson County. There's also a lot of workers that are in Clinton. Mr. Gann knows how many people are working in Clinton, so you have a lot of transportation to and from across the highways. So, if I got it, it's a big file and everything, so we're anyway, as we look at coming into the narrow areas, you can see how this begins to stack up. Now, this is Melton Lake Drive, which is a north-south drive connecting the Clinton Highway, or our road to the Oak Ridge to Clinton route, which is the Oak Ridge Turnpike, and then you also have Edgemore Road. And so you have cut across traffic, you have gravel from various gravel yards and quarries, And as we look at that, we begin to see that constant accumulation there. I think as we look at these categories and we look at the road ahead, there's one of the big things that's on the horizon for the region is the building and construction of a lithium processing facility. This is national security high priority. That's going to mean another 600 workers will be coming in there on a daily basis. And I just don't think our roads are going to be able to handle that over the long haul or waiting until 2035. And so I present that to you today. Just a quick list of things that are happening. We have 2 small modular reactors that are being built on the other side of town. So you're going to have that traffic that's moving east and west. We have solidified TRISO X, which is a nuclear fuel fabrication facility. They're starting out with 400 jobs by December 24. And so folks are going to have to go across this corridor to get to that particular location. I've talked to Mayor Frank and how we go through the Claxton area. That's very difficult from a terrain and geologic thing. We're going to have to look at how that road can be built. The bridge needs to be expanded. You're going to have truck traffic tearing the Bull Run steam plant up and down, and we're still going to have the workers get in there on a daily basis. So there's many different things that are happening out there, and I thought that just showing you some of these pictures of what's transpiring there. You can see the traffic backing up north and south, trying to get onto Edgemore Road. And then we also see Illinois Avenue. You have boat ramps, holiday periods, also lots of recreational usage out there. There's 700 acres of the Haw Ridge bicycle and recreational area. So we continue to see a lot of activity there. And I think we're going to reach a point where we kind of come to a standstill if we're not careful. So I bring that to your attention today and kind of give a live picture of some of the things that we see in our transportation improvement program. On a final note, I'm just, I want to give my thanks to TPOe. When I arrived here 12 years ago, we were considered a rural county. We were not part of the planning of this region. And with all of the workers that we have coming into Oak Ridge now and in the future, I think we're anxious to be part of that process and prioritization of moving people to and fro. So we have asked that we have a meeting with the commissioner, and I think all of the Department of Energy heads have asked that meeting be held because they're really starting to struggle getting their people in and out with new security measures to the Department of Energy side. So we appreciate this opportunity to present that to you today. I'd answer any questions.
Thank you so much, Dr. Watson. Any questions for Mark? Dexter, did you want to comment or anything on this? Sean, I know you're going to be taking over here. Any comments from you?
This was the first thing that we discussed when we talked about Dr. Watson leaving the city of Oak Ridge and me coming on to the TPO. It's the #1 priority for the city from a transportation standpoint. It's obviously an encumbrance. Certainly appreciate Dr. Watson putting this briefing together so you guys can see what we're dealing with on a daily basis. We would invite you out, but nobody likes to sit in traffic. It's frustrating time to transient in and out of the city. Look forward to kind of carrying this forward for the city. Thank you.
So, I know TVA is developing a plan for the old Bull Run steel plant. Has that, do you know when that will be released of what they anticipate moving forward with, either you or Mayor Frank?
The So the transmission station that you see is newly constructed. That had to be built before they can tear down the transmission stations on the other side. They will go through about 1.5 to 2 years of official study process and EISs and as to how they're going to dismantle the plant, and then we'll move into a deconstruction phase. I understand it's about an 18-month to 2-year destruction process. That's going to mean the various trucks coming in and out every day on the opposite bank, and that comes right into that Melton Lake intersection. And so, okay.
I guess a reuse for that facility has not been determined by TVA, or whether they'll industrial or recreational or anything like that. That's still still being under consideration.
Yes, I think there's several proposed options for that. There's been an economic development option, so it could become another job center. I know land availability in Anderson County is extremely limited, let alone flat land. They do have to decide what to do with coal ash, so that requires some study and analysis on that. Then we'll see how you slope in a roadway. It may be something more like the Cumberland mountain area that you see when you're on Interstate 40, where there's 2 levels of road based on crossing toward the Clinton Highway. So there's some rough terrain in there as you're trying to squeeze through that Bull Run area. I did have one dramatic picture, and I didn't want to be accused of doing it, but there's the bridge going across to the Bull Run steam plant, and it's a small bridge. We need another couple of lanes in there, and those are only getting more expensive. And we've got a landing point. We got TVA land that's available for the landing point, and those should be constructed as soon as possible, because you also end up with something like this. And if that happens during the rush hour, then you're really log jammed up and trying to get around, and that creates hazards on other parts of the roadway system.
Thank you, Dr. Watson. Very good
Thank you.
presentation. I like
Dr.
all the
Watson,
visuals.
I'm sorry.
Yes, go ahead, Justin.
Could you email that presentation to the board, please?
Yes.
We can do that.
You can.
We'll do that, yes.
Thank you.
Yeah.
You can have that.
Hopefully your servers will, it's a large file and it's got videos and that, hopefully you'll be able to accept it. That's the thing.
Thank you. And I do know TDOT is doing a lot of work on this as well, and so we'll continue to keep an eye on it. Next is Ellen Zaviska with an update on our safety plan. And Ellen, thank you for your stepping outside of your duties this morning and working so hard on IT as well.
We all have to do our part here. And I appreciate the opportunity to give you an update on this morning. And I hope you'll bear with me as I'm dealing with a little bit of a cold. So I'm glad to give you an update on our safety plan this morning. I've been in front of this group before a couple times, but this is a regional safety plan that we're working on with the goal of obviously identifying projects and programs that can reduce the incidence of fatal and serious crashes in our region, and also get us ready to apply for federal implementation funds through the Safe Streets and Roads for All program from Federal Highway Administration. So I'll talk about where we're at on the safety plan, what we've learned from that first round of grants that have come out of federal highways, and talk about what we've learned from the notice of funding opportunity for round 2. So we have created a couple of high injury networks for our region, and this is a process that involves focusing in on those fatal and serious crashes in our region. We call them KSI, someone's killed or seriously injured. And we had a first draft based just on the just the raw data of where crashes have occurred. Then we've refined that through a task force that's working with us, which is a subset of folks on the technical committee. And this is an image showing just a snapshot of the high injury network for the city of Knoxville. And those corridors that have like a purple brownish line on them are part of the high injury network. The high injury network for Knoxville identifies only 5% of roadway miles, and those roadway miles see 63% of all fatal and serious crashes. So it's really just a very small fraction of our roadways that are seeing most of these serious and fatal crashes. And then we've also identified a separate high injury network for the region outside of Knoxville. Fatal and serious injury crashes are more dispersed in the region. So it's a smaller share of KSIs. It's still almost 30% of KSIs that occur on just under 2% of the roadway miles. So it's still a really good concentration. And this is showing a little bit of Maryville, where you see the HIN along along Broadway, West Broadway, coming out of Maryville. So the next step we're working on are crash profiles. These are ways of identifying the location and circumstance that see the most KSI crashes. So this is a way that we can look at other corridors, other intersections that may have similar characteristics, so that we can address those as well and not just be reacting to where KSI crashes have occurred, but looking at similar locations that they might occur in the future. So some of the things we've seen, left turns at signalized intersections is a frequent crash type that results in a fatal or serious crash. Crashes involving people walking or cycling along our major arterials that have a commercial land use. Motor vehicles striking a fixed object, those are usually roadway departure crashes. And then we have a good share of motorcycle-related crashes along higher speed roads. So the safety plan will identify 6 crash profiles, and then we'll share countermeasures that can address those, again, where crashes have occurred or even where they haven't. So we've done some public engagement as part of this. It's really a data-driven plan, but we did want to get some public input as needed. We had a regional survey that was hosted on the TPOe website. City of Knoxville did some targeted outreach, just focused on the city with different organizations and individuals. Altogether, we heard from 9 organizations and nearly 500 people responded to the surveys. So as I said, we've already heard from Federal Highways about a first round of funding through Safe Streets and Roads for All. They awarded 37 different projects for implementation. None of those were in Tennessee, so that tells me we're due, right? Of those 37, there were 14 that focused on a specific corridor, another 8 that took on more like system-wide improvements, more geographically dispersed. 35 of the 37 included pedestrian safety features, 27 had bicycle safety features, and 27, again, had a focus on equity. So just getting a sense of what Federal Highways is prioritizing in these grants. Now, in addition to those implementation grants, more than 400 awards were given for planning, which of course we're already undertaking now as a safe systems plan. So all of those safety plans are going to be starting this year. They're certainly not ready to go for implementation funding this year. So that's why I'm thinking like, this is the year, to go for implementation funding, because we're ahead of the curve since we're already getting this plan in place, and we'll have it done and back to you for approval by June. So the applications are due in July, which is why we have to have the plan approved in June. And the notice of funding opportunity that they've put out says that they want to fund low-cost, high-impact strategies to improve safety over a wide geographic area. They want to focus on equitable investment for underserved communities, including both urban and rural populations, and they want to see the use of evidence-based strategies and innovative technologies. So what's next? So as we wrap up the crash profiles for the plan, we're also creating what we're calling like a predictive analysis tool that uses the crash data, the crash profiles to look at, what are some other locations we want to focus on that, again, may have not have seen a fatal or serious crash, but have those roadway characteristics. And then we'll go to identifying a slate of projects to include in a plan, and we'll produce a region-wide plan and then a standalone sort of separate plan for the city of Knoxville, since Knoxville has already started work on moving toward Division 0. They had a resolution for that a couple years ago, and they'll have their own kind of standalone plan to implement. And that's all I've got for you. I'm happy to answer any questions.
I just want to mention that we came to this board about 6 months ago indicating that this process, these funds are going to be available at the federal level, and we chose to use some of our dollars to advance the planning process so that we could be in a position for our organizations to apply for funds this June or July instead of getting planning money and then miss a cycle of year for implementation funds. So Alan's been really great, and with the task force to try to move the consultant along to get this to this point where the region or jurisdictions could apply. And we will, since the plan will be adopted here in June and applications needed in July 10th, if I recall, we'll be looking to see how we can assist in getting applications submitted for those jurisdictions, or a regional package together, or just one, package or two or applications or more, and potentially utilize some of our planning funds to assist that along. So it is going to be a very short, quick turnaround to get applications in, because we'll be ahead of 400 other jurisdictions in applying for implementation funds. So we need to strike while the iron is hot. So thank you, Ellen, and others.
Any other questions for Ellen? Ellen, I would like to say this is highly impressive. First of all, 500 responses. Is that a record for our TPO on anything? That's pretty great. Yeah.
City of Knoxville did a lot of that.
Okay. And then your predictive analysis tool, that is fascinating to me as well. Is that something that other areas are doing, or talk a little bit about that?
Sure. It's not a required part of the plan, but it's something that we sort of wanted to add on. But a lot of jurisdictions that are doing this kind of work are trying to get at that, so that it's not, again, it's, the safe system approach or the Vision 0 approach, whatever you want to call it, is focused on trying to kind of get ahead of the problem rather than reacting to crashes, because, obviously any fatal or serious injury crash is one too many, but they are a fairly rare occurrence, and so there's some randomness to it, especially those run off the roadway crashes. They do tend to occur in kind of random locations, but there might be patterns in terms of the roadway characteristics, the speed limit, other things like that. If we can get ahead of those and do some, I'm thinking some like lower cost interventions, and like I said, prevent those in the future.
Very good. Anything else for Ellen? Thank you. Next, Jeff, you are up. Oh, I'm sorry. Was there a question? Oh. EPA Climate Pollution Reduction Grant.
We're waiting for technology to catch up.
Trying to fix our audio still.
Okay. The environmental protection, I guess I have to have someone advance the slides for me. Okay, thank you. The EPA came out with an environmental climate pollution reduction grants program that is available nationwide. You want to go to the next slide, please? And the funding is available across to the, I think it's the largest 67 largest metropolitan statistical areas in the country, and Knoxville MSA is number 64, just for FYI. So we are eligible for a $1 million grant with no local match to address climate in reduction, develop a climate action plan. And the applications are due May 31st with a notice of intent April 28th. Funds be issued to applicants this summer, and then you need to develop, 2 to 4 years to develop a report. The next slide. please. So there's a number of things that EPA is looking at that needs to be addressed, from greenhouse gases to innovative technologies, metrics to track emissions, and that. This goes over and above what we do as a TPO is to address mobile emissions. So this addresses all sorts of emissions throughout the region to try to address greenhouse gas emissions. So next slide. So what we're looking at, and this is going to be how we're thinking about approaching this. If some of you recall the Plan East Tennessee that we did over a dozen years ago, it seems like. The city of Knoxville was the applicant for those funds, and the Knox County Planning was the subrecipient of a number of those dollars to implement the plan. So we're looking at a partnership with the city of Knoxville, they being the applicant for these funds, and that the city of Knoxville will manage sort of the technology side, the analytics and that with the consultant, and the Knox County Planning, i.e. through the TPO, would work with our regional partners that have expressed interest in this. And those regional partners have been Maryville and Alcoa, so Oak Ridge possibly, and Knox County possibly, to look at this, and the Knox and TPO would manage those efforts from a regional perspective. So next slide. So we're looking at just a very rough budget for this, of approximately $1 million of doing the modeling for is necessary for the greenhouse gas approach, and then doing some modeling for each of the small areas that are interested in it, how they can address greenhouse gas reduction, climate pollution reductions, stakeholder engagement, some engagement with an equity consultant, partnership with the University of Tennessee, and then meeting support in that. So potentially the city of Knoxville will handle, again, those first two bullets, and the TPO would handle the last 4 or 5 bullets for a total of a $1 million approach to this. So we would talk with the technical committee last couple of weeks ago, and they were comfortable with this approach to move forward with this. So the city of Knoxville on their council agenda has made, I believe it was a resolution to apply for the funds at their last meeting. And again, when those funds are awarded, we would develop contracts between Knoxville, Knox County Planning, and the city of Knoxville for Knoxville, Knox County, and TPO to address those regional efforts, and the city of Knoxville address their efforts. So just wanted to make you aware of this effort they'll be undergoing probably later this summer, early fall, by things get underway. So if there's any organizations that are interested in this, we have through the end of May to put the final application together. So yeah, that I'll take any questions.
Dexter, good morning, Dexter.
Good morning.
Got an update on Alcoa. Good.
All right. That was a quick, smooth transition, Dexter.
Not yet. You can't see behind you.
Shared with the online folks.
I don't know if I have that login.
If you don't, his screen won't be able to be shown at the meeting because he's not logged into the meeting. You should be good.
Yeah. All right. Thank you for having me today. I don't know how I followed Jeff Welch, but I am here to tell you how I'm going to. We are on the verge of investing in well in excess of $100 million back into this community. First off, I'd like to give a quick update on the Alcoa Highway corridor as a whole, which is in excess of $1 billion that we got going on here. Do we have a laser pointer? Thank you. All right, so as you've probably seen this slide over the years, we have 7 projects starting in south of the airport there, going all the way up to the hospital in Knox County. that is the redevelopment of Alcoa Highway State Route 115. The 7 projects, we have 3 of them that have gone to construction over the years. The bottom project, the southern project there in blue, which is the connection there just south of the airport to the what will be relocated Alcoa Highway, is complete. We have 2 more projects that have been to construction. You'll see them in orange with the orange barrels highlighted there in Knox County. The top one is nearly complete. It is functionally complete for commuters coming through the corridor. We do still have a city street and driveway work going on the side. The southern project in Knox County, there at the Knox-Blount County line, is well into construction. So we've made a lot of gains there in getting a completed project. Then we'll have 3 projects in Blount County with stage 1 of relocated Alcoa Highway coming right now, scheduled for the August letting in 2023. So we'll be hitting this corridor again this year. I'm here today to talk about the green project, the most northern project, Cherokee Trail, which is really kind of the gateway project to the corridor coming out of Knoxville. Luckily, we have a really good video that will give you a good description of what we're going to do here, and then I'll go through an update on how we see construction playing out. This video is about 3.5 minutes long. Maybe it's not going to get the audio. I can describe it. All right, so here is the existing project that is under construction from Woodson Drive down to Maloney to the south. And this project starts here at Woodson Drive, and what you see here is the 4 lanes that are sandwiched between the Rock Mountain there and the river or lake. We will be moving east into the slope with some pretty dramatic rock cuts and retaining walls. And we will end up with a 6-lane facility, 3 lanes in each direction, through this corridor in Knox County. As we scroll to the north here, we see the depiction of the existing interchange as we have it, now overlaid with a 3D model of the new interchange. What you will see next is right along the arrows coming from northbound, showing you how you will access the hospital. And then coming southbound out of Knoxville, it's the same thing. You'll have the arrows that take you to through the interchange and how you access the hospital. So what this interchange does differently than the existing interchange is it supplies good access to UT Research Park at Cherokee Farms, the golf facility, the Naval Base, and Marine Park. Currently, the Marine Park and Naval Base have at-grade access, and so do the other 2 for that matter, but it's just to the north of the screen. We'll be removing those and providing interchange access control. It provides better access for all of these facilities, safer access for future growth in the research park, and continued safer access for all of UT Golf, Naval Base, and Marine Park. You also see the greenway along the bottom, the Knox-Blount County Greenway system. It's going to tie up and come all the way to the hospital as well through a pedestrian tunnel that goes underneath Alcoa Highway. You'll also see a signalized intersection here as you come off the northbound ramps that will feed into the new hospital entrance here in the middle of the interchange, with a signal to the east that operates at Medical Center Way on Cherokee Trail as well. We are also using signal preemption in this project to allow for faster access for emergency vehicles. You'll see the red pavement indicates that there's a red light currently, and the signal preemption coming from the emergency vehicle will change the light instead of them having to wait in traffic. during an emergency situation. Again, it'll go through this next red light and do the same thing. It'll make the light change to keep them from being queued up in traffic. Much safer than going around folks and asking everybody to stop. Okay, so like I say, this project is set to go to construction. We plan to let this project on May 12th, so we're under a month. I think we'll be 2 weeks from Friday. So we're motoring into construction pretty quickly. What I would like to do is go through a kind of a phase diagram of how the project is planned to be built. I'm not going to go into a ton of detail on it. I could do an hour-long presentation on this piece. But just to give everybody a good feel for how the project is going to be delivered. This diagram, while it's not as clear on the big projector screen above everybody, you can kind of see it a little better on the screen over to my left, the colors. So what this depicts is the traffic phase in phase one of the project. You'll see the orange hatched areas where we're asking the contractor to work. And what you'll notice in phase one is that most of the work, all the work in phase one will be happening to the outside of the existing pavement. The green arrows indicate where traffic will be running. So you'll see 2 lanes in each direction going north and southbound, obviously, through the duration of the project. But definitely in phase one, you'll see that it's an existing traffic pattern. So we anticipate probably 90% of this project, 85–90% of this project will be done in phase one. It's a good 2.5 year window to do phase one work. So traffic will not change during the first 2.5 years of the project. It'll be just as it is today. You'll just see a lot of construction equipment going into the rock bluff. You'll see bridges new bridge being placed here, new ramps being built. All the new ramps will intersect existing ramps at grade, so we'll be able to do traffic swaps in the middle of the night and have very low impacts to our motoring public. So again, a lot of work going on in phase one. We'll be doing work inside of UT Hospital's complex where we interface. We're doing a Lifestar Road replacement project that helps them with mobility through the UT Ag and the UT Hospital campus. And we'll be in their front yard working, but again, traffic for them does not change in the first 2.5 years. That's what I want to highlight most is, yes, this is a four-plus year project. I think we've got 4 years, 3 months on it as a contract completion date. But first 2.5 years, we'll get around just like we are today with a lot of construction going on around us. There will be work impact along Cherokee Trail, but again, traffic will still have the same lanes they have today. As we move into super sensitive. Phase two, these drawings now indicate, the magenta color indicates previous work in a previous phase. And this is where we'll start seeing in the 2.5 year range, traffic changes. What you'll see is that northbound traffic now flows through the magenta area, which is where we worked in phase one, but still 2 lanes going north, 2 lanes going south. Southbound traffic will still be where it is today. We'll be working in the middle in phase two. And the northbound off-ramp for the interchange will be turned on at this time. And this phase will take several months, of course, of work in here as well. Then we move into phase three, which has three subparts. So we consider this phase 3A. This is where we start doing more work in UT Hospital's access here. You see the orange area being the new spots that we're doing work. during this phase. This will be a short phase just to tie the new interchange into UT's infrastructure here at the existing roundabout in their facility. We will, going into the next phase, 3B, is where real traffic swaps happen. And I'll go ahead and pull that up. In 3B, we now have the new frontage road that we described that will serve the naval base, Marine Park, UT's golf facility. The interchange is open, 100% open. We have access going over to UT Research Park at Cherokee Farms, and the new frontage road is open, as I said. But in this case, the new ramps going northbound from Cherokee Trail is open. The off-ramp is open. The ramps southbound are all open, but we do have a gap in where current traffic crosses into UT Hospital. So we'll have a phase here where we're going to be expediting work. It's about a 28-day phase to close this gap. Traffic control, the traffic pattern to enter the hospital will be a little strange during this phase. We've worked with FHWA, recognizing that we're going to have this odd traffic pattern to do a $1 million incentive to the contractor to get this work completed in 28 days. Assuming they do that, they get the $1 million bonus. If they don't meet the 28 days, they go from a $1 million bonus one day to a $30,000 liquidated damage the next day. Again, is good collaboration with FHWA to get this approved. It's for the best benefit of the motoring public. For northbound traffic, southbound traffic's fine. It's northbound traffic, but giving the level 1 trauma center and that UT Hospital is, getting this phase done expedited was of the utmost importance. So 3B is a short, less than a month, 28-day process. Hopefully they can beat that. We've done a lot of engineering here with to expedite that with a geofoam fill and retaining wall system that will help expedite this phase. 3C, we become fully open and fully functional in every direction. We will be still doing some ramp work for how you leave the hospital to go northbound, tying in to a slip ramp that will allow those folks to have free flow leaving the hospital to go northbound, and some work on Cherokee Trail. And then when we move into phase 4 is really highlighted there with the orange area going through on Alcoa Highway there in the middle of it. We'll be doing a lot of paving, signage work, general cleanup and punch list items in phase 4, and this will finish the project. So again, what I want to reiterate the most is this is a super important project to this community. It will get the third of 3 projects in Knox County under construction for Alcoa Highway. We will still lack 3 projects in Blount County, with one of them being let this year. But the significant progress into this corridor, and just how important this piece is. Again, we anticipate it being a well in excess of $100 million project. 4 years, 3 months is the contract date as we have it right now. And we will have 2 lanes in each direction on Alcoa Highway the entire time. We have a really good plan set forth for the contractor to be successful in maintaining traffic as we need it to be. We will have rolling roadblocks. As you are aware, this rock bluff we're going into, we will not pull blast or pull shots there while the motoring public's going by. We do have significant safety barriers that'll be in place, but we still don't want those folks driving by while the blast is being conducted. We also have significant, to keep the contractor being overly aggressive with blasting, we've made part of the contract also to have significant fines for the contractor, or liquidated damages for the contractor, if they were to impact traffic after the rolling roadblock. So if the blast were to get rock in the road and we have lane closures, those are significant to his pocketbook. So I think we have set up a project that has the appropriate amount of time for construction, while to allow the contractor to be almost surgical in getting that rock bluff down. So I think that outlines the project as a whole. Certainly open to any questions.
Any questions for Dexter? Mayor Jacobs, did you have anything, or Vice Mayor?
I think this is a fantastic project. It's definitely needed, and appreciate the investment, and I really appreciate the technology. I thought that was great with the, the ambulances being able to get priority. It's just, can't wait for this to be done. So thank you for doing it.
Just an overall question about the whole project. And it's one of those things that it's frankly it's caused a lot of inconveniences, now, but when it's done, I think it's going to be really great. So thank you all for undertaking this.
Very impressive. And I'd like to also recognize Steve Borden and Amanda Snowden are here today. And I know you all are a big part of this project as well. So we thank you for all you're doing for the region on this one. Dexter, just a little light note. At the beginning, your very first slide had the TDOT, the traffic barrels. I'm spending too much time with the grandkids because when I looked at it, I thought Dr. Seuss' Cat in the Hat. And then you had to, so. Okay, they're barrels. Thank you. Excellent presentation. And is that technology with the videos, maybe we're going to get a little more of that on some of these other projects and share that with the TPO? I love that.
Yeah, those videos are probably more of the future that we're going to be seeing with the type of software we're using now in our design.
That's fantastic.
Possibility. So 3D models are definitely a way of the future.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I saw Sean smile on the bonus and penalty. So you must have had a role in that, sir.
Not directly, but it is interesting stuff.
Yeah.
Good ideas. Thank you.
Thank you.
Last but not least, reports from Federal Highway and TDOT partners. But first, Senator Massey, I know you've just finished up session, and we thank you for all you do for transportation. Anything you want to share with us today?
Well, the Transportation Modernization Bill has been signed. It's huge. It's $3.3 billion. But if any of the counties that are here, if you haven't seen how much your highway fund is going to be getting, in the past, we've been doing $21 million a year statewide. We're adding an extra $300 million. So it's like 15 years into one. So our counties can kind of plan ahead. So it's exciting. I tell people, I said, with the $26 billion of identified projects, which doesn't include the things on there that aren't on there that we would like, kids that are in high school would be senior citizens by the time we finished it if we did not do anything. And so, we didn't have any choice, but it was really exciting to be the one that shepherded it through the Senate. And it did pass with bipartisan support overwhelmingly, so that's always a good thing too. We worked it hard. It was a team effort. But I've got the plan for the choice lane in Knox County. We're going to call it the orange lanes, and it's going to be in orange letters. And then for the frequent drivers that every so many miles they'll get an orange UT koozie or something like that. I mean, we got to come up with something creative to make it fun. But anyway, but no, it was an honor to be the one chosen to carry it because it really will be transformational to our state, and with the highway funds increasing so much, and like I say, I've got a screenshot of, so I can tell you what your county's getting, but it'll be transformational for all 95 counties, and so it's exciting.
Thank you, Senator. Any questions for the Senator?
Just to comment, I think Knox County is getting $1,143 more percent. 1,143, not dollars, 1,143% over what we got last year into our state aid local fund. So that's a big deal.
Wow. Well, we appreciate you, Senator. Excellent work. Any other questions for Senator? All right, Sean, Federal Highway.
Morning. I'd actually like to ask Zach Coleman to come up. Zach is a new planner with our office, just joined us from the Orange County Transportation Council in New York. And he's going to speak on some funding opportunities that we have.
Yeah, thank you, Sean. Zach Coleman, nice to meet you all. Transportation Planning Specialist for FHWA Tennessee. Start off with the Charging and Fueling Infrastructure Discretionary Grant Program. CFI program has up to $700 million available this year for fiscal year 23 to deploy electric vehicle charging infrastructure and alternative fueling infrastructure projects in urban and rural communities in publicly accessible locations. There's two funding categories. There's community charging and fueling grants to kind of deploy that infrastructure in downtown areas, and then alternative fuels corridor grants. So that's along, the federal highway system. Deadlines for that are Tuesday, May 30th, 2023. And then Safe Streets and Roads for All, Ellen did a great job. And Jeff mentioned that deadline is July 10th. There's $1 billion available in fiscal year 23 for planning and demonstration grants and implementation grants. So you guys are ahead of the curve with the action plan. That's awesome. Something to focus on for this round of funding is the demonstration grants. So you could actually, on those focus areas that you identified in the action plan, you could conduct planning, design, and development activities for the projects and strategies there. So you could further kind of look into, take a deeper dive into the areas that you identified. So yeah, that's Monday, July 10th is the deadline for that. The next one is the Wildlife Crossing Pilot Program. There's $112 million available this fiscal year for construction projects and planning projects to reduce wildlife vehicle collisions. And then the new one that was just released this past Friday is the Protect Discretionary Grant Program. There's 848 million available for planning grants, resilience improvement grants, community resilience and evacuation route grants, and coastal infrastructure grants, which, we're kind of landlocked here, so you don't have to focus on. The deadline for that is August 18th, 2023. So those are the NOFOs that are out. There are also some webinars that are coming out for each of those grant opportunities, so we'll provide that to the group as well. So appreciate it.
And
Thank you. Any
we'll make
questions
sure
for
to get that information over to Jeff for distribution to the membership here. We're happy to take any questions or provide any support as you guys consider putting in for these funding opportunities. I will say, just as a word of advice, these are nationwide competitions for this funding, and I think what we really see a lot of value or a lot of benefit come from is partnership, finding those traditional and non-traditional partners to work with and trying to compete for this funding, and telling us that story of the benefits of this investment. I think listening to the presentation on Edgemore Road is pretty impactful. That kind of pattern of what are we seeing, the actual impacts of the issues that we're trying to address through this investment is really going to put a leg up on your application. So again, we're here to assist any way that we can. So.
Absolutely. And I just was thinking of that, Sean, like on the evacuation point that Dr. Watson brought up. There's kind of, with that federal facilities there, maybe there's an opportunity for us to.
Yeah, leveraging those opportunities and those resources that are available is definitely what is going to make you stand out in that application process. So
very good. Thank
great.
you.
Thank
Any other questions? Matt?
Good morning again. I do not have any other business other than to point out the second bullet in the other business item regarding the multimodal access grant. That notice of intent window opens today and runs through May 16th. So if you're interested in applying, please go to that website that's identified in the red link and apply. Troy, do you have anything?
Yeah, I do have a couple real quick things. I'd like to thank this board, because what Dexter went through started here. Okay. You all fund those projects, you all support those projects, and you all have ranked those projects, and now you see those coming to fruition. So I have worked with the region and worked with the TPO staff to ask for updates on specific projects, and that was the project that we came up with on this one, because it's coming to letting right now. That's getting ready to go to bid. Next month, we're going to work with regional staff also and look at the 3-year plan. The 3-year plan is dropped when it came out with the legislation. So we'll look at how everything was ranked and then how it came out in the wash at the end, where we're at. So Dexter and Stephen and Amanda, their staff someone will be here to present specifically about that. Look what we have versus what we ranked. We did this last year, and that's what we had talked about looking at our next meetings. I did also want to say that with additionally, you have the dream team here for Region 1, especially with our leadership. But in addition to that, you have your District 18 operations folks that are here as well. So Rachel and Jason are here. You send Steve an email, it's going to work their way down to those folks, and they're going to be the ones that make these things happen as well. So if you don't know them, especially as mayors and folks that have oversight over your public works divisions, if you don't know these folks, these are people that you need to know. I introduced our new folks from Oak Ridge to them immediately. So here's everyone you need to know. So definitely good information. But if you all have a specific project or something that you want to see or want more information on, let us know. Let your TPO staff know, and we'll work our way through that so we can have the updates that you all are interested in and want to know about as far as from TDOT for projects. So that's all.
Thank you, Troy. Jeff?
Sure. Just a quick question either for Steve or Dexter. Based on that 3-year project that was leased out, the Emery Road interchange, do you know if there's a potential letting date out there this year or offhand, or is it 2 years out yet more? FY25. Okay. I just couldn't remember. There's like 2 projects for our area that were in that 3-year or new additional steps. So you see on the list of potential meetings in May. Again, if we do not have action items, we will respect your time and not have a meeting if they have no action items. So as of right now, we do not have any action items for that, but things may occur that we'll have to have a called meeting. So with that, if there's any, I don't think anyone's here from the public, but I don't have any other updates to give at this time.
Doug, anyone signed up for comments? No? Any other business to come before the board? Any other discussion points, topics you'd like to raise? All right, hearing none, unless there is an objection, we will stand adjourned. Hearing none, we are adjourned. Thank you all.